Mo reps, race day.
Hey, what's going on? It's been a few weeks since I completed my first half iron distance triathlon. It was an amazing day. Just cannot say enough, thank you enough to all my friends and family that came out and supported me, cheered me on. Thanks to my wife, Nikki, for being the best support person I could ever imagine. Her commitment to my training, especially the last few weeks leading up to it, was so helpful, just to allow me to focus on the training. And you know, it wasn't racing anybody out there, it was simply to finish for myself, and I just can't thank you enough. So let's talk about the race, kind of debrief how it went, what went well, what went maybe not as planned, and what I want to do better going into my next race. So to start, the swim portion, I was super nervous about that leading into the race. And I had worked out some of the kinks, some of my issues with open water, and the swim portion was the best. Honestly, it was probably the best part of the day besides finishing. I did the swim in 51 minutes 20 seconds, which was about on pace with, I thought, like my best possible time could be. Swimming with other people, like a lot of other people, was not really an issue. Bumped into a few people here and there, but was able to easily just shake it off and just keep moving. And before I knew it, I hadn't even checked my watch one time, and I had been, you know, was finished with my second lap at the course and was swimming towards the shore to transition. Coming out of the water, I felt good. My legs didn't feel like jello, and as I get through kind of towards the grass, there are like a dozen people standing there, like yelling at me, like, "Hey, I'll help you take off your wetsuit." And I was so thrown off. I had no idea that was going to be a thing. Next thing you know, I'm on the ground. They're yanking the wetsuit off me. I have grass all over myself. It was total chaos. I would tell anyone that is planning on doing their first triathlon with a wetsuit, take it off yourself. It's not that hard. People make a big deal about it. It's not hard to take off your wetsuit. Practice a few times. Figure out the simplest way to take it off. I'm not racing anyone else. I don't need someone to yank the wetsuit off me. It was totally unnecessary. Got my heart rate jacked up. And but anyway, I did it. I learned. Big deal. Move on. Into transitioned well. I think it took me like maybe like 4 minutes to transition. I was taking my time. I didn't care. I just wanted to make sure, you know, I did everything correctly, put sunscreen on, get all my bike stuff, you know, get a drink of water. Maybe, I think I took a gel. And then I just was trying to, you know, get my heart rate back down, remain calm, just walked my bike out of transition. And so, you know, into the bike I go, into the 56-mile bike. And at that point, it was still pretty early in the morning, but I could feel the heat coming on. And about 20 minutes into the ride, or 20 miles into the ride, I should say, I see a group of people turn right. And there was supposed to be somebody at every turn, supposed to be markings at every turn. Well, I see a group of, I don't know, 7 people turn right. I had a good feeling we were supposed to turn left, but anyway, it's hard to go against the grain at that point. So I followed these 7 people. We ended up off course. Got back on course as quickly as I could. Ended up biking 3.5 extra miles. So I did 59.5 miles instead of 56. You live and you learn. I knew the course, but It was hard to make the left-hand turn. But anyway, you know, at the turnaround point, drank some water. I drank too much water. It was a big mistake because it was so hot out there at that point. And at about mile 40, I just felt this water sitting in my gut, sloshing around. And I made the decision, I pulled over and I threw up at mile 40. I had to let it go. Felt a lot better afterwards, but still it was a hard 16 miles or so back into a headwind. Stomach wasn't feeling great. I was losing power. I was dehydrated at that point. I started cramping up at various points. I was getting saddle sore. I couldn't stand up to relieve that pressure because then that would cause, you know, a quad or hamstring to cramp up. So anyway, I suffered and I got back from the bike and a lot of my friends were there cheering me on.
Good job, sweetie!
I would like to say that their cheering helped, but I was feeling so shitty at that point that I just couldn't believe at that point I still had 13 miles to run. So anyway, I transitioned a little slower than the first time around. I think it took me maybe close to like 5.5, 6 minutes. And you know, so I get into the transition, take off my helmet and everything, put sunscreen on my head, or wiped you know, my head down, put sunscreen on, and then like an idiot, I dumped a bottle of water on my head and get sunscreen in my eyes. I'm like blinded now at this point. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It's just, it went from bad to worse. Get out of the transition and I start running, and my belt that I wear with my water bottles feels incredibly heavy. Wasn't tight enough. It was just bouncing all around. It was a disaster.
I feel like I should yell at him, but I don't want to. Knees to chest, princess.
Oh, here we go.
Pump those arms.
Joke's on us.
Face us out! Knees to chest!
He's like, Kaylin, stop. Stop with your shit. He probably doesn't care.
This bitch.
Yeah!
Where's the rest?
I have to
End of the race.
Putting his eyeliner on. Mascara. Oh,
Washing the sunscreen.
Oh, got sunscreen in his mouth and his eyes for dumping water on himself. That's good. Dun 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 dun. This is anticlimactic.
The final countdown.
It's the eye of the tiger. Let's see it.
I'll start running in a minute. I appreciate you guys watching this.
Anytime, sweetheart.
Let's go!
Sunburned mohawk going on.
Yeah, did you see?
Yeah.
From the helmet.
Yeah. That's the coolest tan line I've ever seen.
I decided to keep the belt on and made it through the, you know, first 6.5 miles. Actually ditched the belt halfway through and just took one bottle with me to run with. And I say run, I only averaged like 15 minutes a mile. It was a walk run. I would run for as far as I could and then walk. It was really at that point, I mean, we were in middle of the day, hottest part of the day. It's like 1 or 2 p.m. at that point, and the sun is just beating down on us. It's a very flat course, but there was no hiding from the sun. And just marched through it and finished the half marathon and finished the half Ironman in a time of 7 hours, 54 minutes, 54 seconds. You know, all of the parts of the half Ironman were as expected. I did the swim in the time that I was kind of estimating. The bike was slightly longer You know, you take away the wrong turn and the time it took to figure out how to get back on course. You know, that bike was pretty average for me, but the run was close to an hour, 45 minutes to an hour slower than I had practiced in my training. I was really thinking that the half marathon would take me about 2.5 hours, like tops, like at a slow pace. But the heat, I just could not train for the heat. And I think a lot of people would say the same that day. You know, we had a very cool spring in the Midwest. The heat came out of nowhere, like about 5 days from the half Ironman. The heat was just turned up to 11. I mean, it was 90 plus degrees that day. You know, mostly sunny, and that heat just smoked me. Either way, I learned a lot from the half Ironman. I'm excited to try that distance again at some point in the future, because there's a lot I can improve on, and I know my fitness is at a better place than what my time shows. It was just a matter of the heat. So my next big race is going to be Ironman Indiana. Really excited for that test. It's going to be quite the adventure. I know I have an awesome team in my corner with Evolve Triathlon and my coach Scott Colby. I'm already loving my programming so far, and the biggest mistake I made with my past training, and something I've learned just about a lot of people training on their own, the intensity is way too high. I got burned out on a lot of my half Ironman training because I was running too fast, I was biking too hard. Those two things really took it out of me. So we've, you know, lowered the intensity, really focusing on that nice, steady kind of zone 1, zone 2 heart rate. And really, I'm not much slower than that higher intensity, or what I think is like a faster pace. So that's really promising. My runs I've just totally put my ego to the side with some of my runs. You know, running at like an 11 and 11:30 pace, but keeping this heart rate at like below 150 has been really great for my aerobic base, because it's something I can sustain for a really long time. And so that's been great. All the other programming, I can't say enough about having a coach and having like custom programming that is tailored to, you know, my weaknesses, and also is gonna, you know, make my strengths even better. It's gonna be a long summer of training. It's already hot here in Missouri. We've got 90s for the rest of the week, and no complaints here, because, you know, I'd love to train a hot summer, come into October 2nd in Indiana, and you know, have a cool fall day. But maybe we'll get a hot, you know, day in October. That's definitely still possible. Either way, I'm glad you guys have come along for the journey. I'm excited to show you some more training footage, and I think, you know, I'll do some blog posts as well, and talk about my training more in depth, and, you know, give you guys that insight to what my training is, how it felt on a particular day, just show you what I'm doing and how I'm improving. And can't thank you guys enough. If you haven't done so already, subscribe, like the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.